Hello, college golf fans. My name is Jarek Wolcott, co-founder of Tuesday Birdies. We are joined today by David Tennison. He's the college golf stat guru. If you've seen anything on Twitter, social media talk about that kind of thing, that's who you're looking at. David, thanks for getting together with me and having a conversation about something that is just really mind-blowing, how big the scores were at the Amer Ari in Hawaii this last weekend. Just an incredible performance.
Yeah, it was. Jarek, I really appreciate you having me on. I know we were geeking out over all the scoring and everything. There was just a ton of really good golf that was happening out at Hawaii, and I'm excited to talk about it.
Let's just go with the thing right on the top of the head. Is what you look what Jackson did with back-to-back rounds of 62s, and then the whole team of Auburn going 77 under for the tournament. Is just unbelievable performance. Obviously record-breaking performance. If you could just help us put it into some historical context of like what those numbers mean for those maybe that aren't super familiar with the record book.
Yeah, I mean, we saw some NCAA records being matched or broken over the course of this tournament, which was really special. Jackson started out 62-62, which put him at 124 and 20 under through 36 holes, which is something we've never seen before. One of the things that we have to kind of work with is the fact that college golf hasn't really been extremely well documented over the years. So trying to put together, record books and some different information. So sometimes we think something's a record and then we find out later on that it wasn't. But I've been up and down the record books that do exist and looking through everything. And I can't really find a better pair of 18 holes to start a tournament. It's really incredible what he's done. One of the things that went out on social media and then got picked up quite a bit that folks might have seen is the fact that he broke Tiger Woods' 1996 Pac-10 championship record, where Tiger went 61-65. And so his 126, 18 under was kind of the standard, if you will. And that was a score that was actually later matched by Sam Smith, who played for USC and did that at the 2013 regional. So we don't want to lose sight of the fact that somebody else was on that record too. But with Jackson going 20 under through 36 was just incredible. And then he backed that up with another 5 under par round. So he didn't quite get to the record that was set by Wen Yiding, Arizona State great. Here recently in 2024 went 27 under for 189. So that's still going to be the record. But Jackson shooting 191, 25 under. I mean, we're talking about something that is the third best raw score in NCAA history and the second best score to par. So really just honestly incredible golf. But one thing that I do want to mention, I don't want to lose sight of the fact that when Jackson finished 36 holes, yes, he had a record. Yes, it was something that caught a lot of headlines, but he only had a 2-shot lead. So you had Arizona State's Michael Mihazith, who was at 126, 18 under. So he actually matched those pre-existing records. So don't want to lose sight of that as well.
This is, for me, it's really an interesting thing because this tournament is usually, the scores don't go that low in this tournament. There's some wind and some other things you have to deal with, but the conditions must have been perfect because you're talking multiple schools breaking school records. You're talking about the runner-up on the individual side going 20 under. You're talking about the runner-up team in Texas going 64 under and still losing by 13 strokes. So it's really a pretty incredible tournament to see all of those red numbers.
Yeah, you're right. We're talking about a tournament that just a couple of years ago was canceled because of extreme wind. So it's something that players usually have to deal with here, going all the way back to the very first one in 1991. You talk to coaches now who played back then, like UNLV's coach, Jean-Paul Hebert. And I mean, one of the very first things that they talk about is the wind that you usually get out there. So it's important to realize that this tournament has recently changed venues. And so, there's a little bit of caveat with that scoring difference here going to Mount Alani, but it's not a pushover course by any means. It's just when the wind lays down like it did this week, and as it has been the last couple of years, I mean, these guys are good. They hit it a mile. They're going to score and they're going to go low. So it's really interesting to put this into context for just this area the last couple of years. You did have a record low round for the first round, but the second round, the third round, I mean, these scores are right in line with the last couple of years. And so it's just fascinating to see how these guys have gotten better and better and they're able to score so low right out of the gate. And they're not needing that second and third round to really get going. Yeah, you mentioned Texas getting to 64 under. I mean, just last year, Oklahoma State won with that score. So, I mean, it's a fantastic score, and to come up 13 shots back of the leader out of that, there's not a whole lot of records in terms of lowest scoring runner up, but as far as I can tell, that's actually probably a record as well. I mean, it's an unbelievable milestone to reach, and then to come home with a second place trophy probably feels a little bit funny, but I mean it's absurd how well these guys were playing, and honestly, it's a lot of fun to be able to just refresh and be able to see those scores coming in.
You look at that Auburn squad, and you've got Caden Pope coming in second at 20 under. I mean, I feel like Jackson should, buy him a soda pop or something after letting him go 20 under and then beating him, by 7 strokes. But it's pretty impressive, and I feel like it's kind of a little bit of a shot across the bow of the rest of the NCAA to say, come and get us.
Oh, for sure. I mean, you've got to feel pretty good if you're Coach Clinton. You've got these guys that are really hitting their stride. I mean, you always want to play well at every event, but whenever you see guys like teaming up and really being able to go low, that gives you that confidence for later on in the season. And, to kind of piggyback up on something that we've talked with before, it's really interesting to see how well this tournament, which has so many good teams competing that we're expecting to see in that postseason, how well it kind of translates going from the Amer Ari to the NCAA. I mean, we've seen 4 individual players win this event and then go on to win the NCAA championship right after. Todd Dempsey from Arizona State back in 1993, Troy Madison in '02, Aaron Wise in 2016, and then Matthew Wolf in 2019. So it would not surprise me at all to see Jackson be in the mix for an NCAA individual championship. And something else too that we talked about was, as a team, Auburn has got to be feeling really good about that. 7 teams have gone on to win the Amer Ari and then the NCAA championship. And most recently, just last year, Oklahoma State won here and then won their 12th NCAA title. So yeah, it's got to feel pretty good coming home with some hardware, but even more than that, just really hitting their stride.
You look back at last year when Jackson, I mean, he had the option to come out, turn pro, and he said, "Hey, I don't want to do that. I mean, what's better than college golf? What's better than hanging with your friends and traveling for free and still playing amazing courses and doing all those things?" I feel like that's really kind of paying off for him, and he's continuing to build his brand and to really hone his game, obviously, with that performance right there.
Yeah, for sure. Have to agree. And the mindset there, again, you've got to love that as a coach, being able to hear a guy talk about all the positives of college golf. Pro golf is going to be there. You never know what's going to happen, right? But in terms of being able to make use of your opportunities now to grow, to be able to have that time with, some of your best friends, potentially for life, it's got to be something that really helps with that comfort, and then being able to then take that on to the next level when you do get there. But college golf isn't just a staging ground. I mean, it's proving to be some of the best golf in the United States, even outside of these pro events.
You look at the last decade, the last 15 years of college golf, and that the game is just really improved. I mean, I know from my experience working at the University of Idaho and looking at our record books, the difference of even 10, 15 years ago is just stunning. The 4th or 5th guy on our squad would have won bigger tournaments, 10 or 15 years ago with their scores. What are you seeing on that, kind of that scoring range, and how, is there anything concrete that you have, or is that just kind of an observation?
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that. So one of the things that I've been able to do here recently is pair up with Mikhail Bjerk. He's the former associate head coach at Baylor. He was the assistant coach under Greg Sands at Texas Tech, and he's got fantastic direct insight, but he also does a really fantastic job with getting into the data. And he and I together have gone through and done a couple of different studies, for example, using the regional data going back, several decades now to be able to kind of look at that and see how trends have changed. It's kind of hard whenever you're looking at just individual events throughout the regular season. We've done that in isolated ways, in particular with this Amer Ari event, something that we dove into both the history and the stats. But with an event like this, where you traditionally have so many strong teams that end up making a run later on, you're able to kind of see apples to apples comparison with that data. But the regionals is where we've kind of focused our effort here recently. And to get back to your question, I mean, it's without a doubt, you're seeing better scoring. You're seeing uh, men and women that are coming into those events more prepared for the course that they're playing, for the different elements. I mean, these college golfers are athletes, and it might feel funny to say. Some people might scoff at that, but they really are. They train. They do all the preparation work that you would expect an athlete to do going into any kind of event, and you can see that paying off with the scores. It's also you're seeing a bunching of the scoring itself. Whether that's in the middle, near the top, whatever, you're seeing those scores kind of shrink together. And yeah, somebody might end up running away with it a little bit at some point, but by and large, those scores overall are just getting better.
Changing pace a little bit. I just want to know like about you a little bit. What inspired you to get, like why college golf? Why is this the thing that you want to get in? You want to know more about what made you catch the itch on this one a little bit?
Uh, I've gone through quite a bit of imposter syndrome because I didn't play college golf. I tapped out at high school. Ended up going to the University of Alabama because I knew that's where I wanted to go in my home state. And let's just say Coach Sewell wasn't out there viewing any of my high school rounds. But it's just a sport that I've always been passionate about. History is a subject that I'm passionate about. So you combine together a love of stats, especially with other sports like baseball has got a real deep history with sabermetrics and things like that. So, those things have always fascinated me, and then kind of came together, particularly in 2018 when my Crimson Tide teams both made a really deep run at the national championships. And that kind of sparked me having an interest to kind of go back and dig into the history of the sport, and was a little perplexed and frustrated by the lack of information that was out there. I mean, there are a handful of books, and they're really nicely done. There's one in particular called The Last Putt that is talking about Tiger Woods' freshman year, when you've got his Stanford team that came up against Oklahoma State in the national championship, and Oklahoma State ended up beating them in the first playoff that we've seen in the NCAA golf championship. So, it's something like that. The hook is going to be Tiger Woods, just like the hook for this week was Tiger's record being broken and things like that. But by and large, there's just not a ton of cohesive information out there that's really easy to find. So I started putting together a document of different tidbits that I liked, started following the teams, and just kind of being an aggregator of information on Twitter, later X, and just kind of going through and just trying to become more familiar with it. Because again, I'm by and large an outsider, pretending to be an insider, I suppose. But the more I've gotten into it, the more just wonderful connections I've made. I can't tell you the number of folks who have been very patient with me and answered emails and various questions. Coach Mike McGraw has been just a wonderful human being as he is, but patient with me and giving me some time and information. And, that's led to different connections with different things. And as we stand now, I have a couple of documents that are several hundred pages long in terms of history going back to the very beginning in 1896. And I just figured that somebody somewhere might be interested in the same thing. Started putting some of that out on a Substack, and just trying to do what I can to kind of put information out there that people seem to know if you're on the inside and you've been there for a long time, but I didn't know. And like I said, kind of figured maybe somebody else would be interested in it as well.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what from my experience as well, is like, if you're kind of if you're, if you're in on a program, or you're, a coach, there's things that you kind of pick up along the way that, but I think it's hard for fans to really find that information, or find the things that a typical fan would like to know when it comes to the kind of historical things. And I've same kind of frustrations and stuff at stops I've been in, trying to aggregate scores from the past 100 years, and trying to find things that, what's our school record. Well, it's kind of, I think this is our school record, but it's hard to know all the way. But no, I think for me, I'm another guy that's kind of a little bit of a nerd with it when it comes to this stuff, and I just appreciate all the work that you've done to kind of start building some of this stuff, and hopefully we can continue to build it, and I'm here to help whatever I can, but hopefully I can see what you can. I'm going to sit back and watch what you find over the next 4 or 5 years, and see what you can build. So,
well, thank you. And no, being able to talk with folks like yourself has just been so wonderful. I mean, truthfully, this isn't something that is me doing anything more than just kind of pulling together conversations and some different talking points. And I would love for this sport to be as well documented as it can be. Baseball, football, these other sports have long histories, and it's pretty well documented, and you've got a bunch of information that's out there. I see absolutely no reason that college golf, that again goes back to 1896. I mean, the very beginning of even the highest amateur events that we're talking about, the U.S. Amateur, the U.S. Open, things like that. I think college golf can and should have its own centralized place to be able to get that information. And that's just one of the things that I would like to be able to assist with in any way that I can. One interesting thing that's kind of led to is trying to put together this digital museum where talking with programs like Idaho, and be able to get some of the history that are sitting in the archives, and maybe help patch that together with history elsewhere, and just make a full tapestry. The tournament results are nice. Folks like to go back and look at those. Records are nice. But I mean, there's just so much that is sitting, unfortunately, just kind of halfway forgotten in different offices or back rooms or whatever. And I'd love to be able to put that in front of people and say, yeah, not only can you go look at the scores from this event 20 years ago, but oh, by the way, here's the trophy that was won, and here's a photo of the guys that won it. And I don't know. I just find all that stuff interesting. And like I said, I think that there's a few more of us geeks out there that are interested in that stuff as well.
Yeah, I think so too. Well, man, I really appreciate you getting together for this conversation. Hopefully, we might have, the 3 other geeks like us out there watch it at the end of the day. But I think it's, the more we talk about this stuff, and the more people become aware of, the opportunities that college golf provides, I think it's pretty fun thing to talk about and to look forward to. So,
absolutely, thank you, Jarek, for having me on. I'm so excited to see what Tuesday Birdies is going to be doing. Already doing fantastic work, and I'm definitely excited for you guys and to follow along with everything that you're doing. You're doing great stuff.
Appreciate it, man. Well, let's get back together soon.